Today on the Cool Stuff Guys Like channel, I'm going to share with you my latest project saw and why I think this saw is way more awesome than maybe you would think and why maybe it's a little bit underrated. This is a Husqvarna 365 X-Torq, and honestly, probably a lot of you guys might not really know that saw. Everyone knows the 372 XP. The 365 though, if you know Husqvarna's naming convention, you might think is 65 cc's, 372, 72 cc's. Well, that might have been the case on some of the older models, but this is actually a 72 cc saw. It's nearly identical to the 372 XP with a couple kind of maybe you call them EPA type changes, but things that we can also improve upon. So the 365 has the same bottom end as the 372 XP. It's got the same carburetor. The cylinder is nearly identical, but it has something going on in the transfer ports. It's got a splitter in the transfer ports, but not to be worried, that can be easily removed. So you're basically then converting it to a 372. You know, at the simplest sense, that's about all you need to do. But this being a saw that I own, of course I want to do more. I want to make this thing really rowdy. I can't really go back to a chainsaw that isn't super awesome. So I've done a lot more than that to this saw, and I'll let you see it run here in a minute, but kind of go through what I've done. I got this saw as a blown up saw. It was seized, you know, it was in pretty bad shape. So I wanted to build it into a good saw, but I also didn't want to spend a fortune. Spoiler alert, maybe I did ultimately end up spending a fortune, but I was able to clean up the cylinder. Sometimes when you seize these saws, what will happen is the cylinder will get all gummed up with aluminum from the piston, but it won't actually break through the nickel or Nickel plating, so you can kind of salvage that cylinder. So what I used was a really diluted solution of muriatic acid to dissolve that aluminum that's on top of that nickel plating. And then I also used some aluminum oxide sandpaper, which is a little bit softer than the nickel plating. So, you know, maybe do this at your own risk, but with this saw I really had nothing to lose. I actually got it for free, so I really had nothing to lose here. So I did a little bit of port work on this saw. This is the 365 X-Torq, which really, really complicates things. The X-Torqs are, I think, generally kind of better than the pre-X-Torq saws right out of the box. They have something called stratified charge. So coming into the carburetor, normally you just have one big hole where that air-fuel mix goes into the crankcase, blows up through the transfer ports, gets ignited, blows through the exhaust, repeat. Well, with a strato saw, it actually splits that charge. So you have a really rich air-fuel mix on the bottom of the carburetor. There's a splitter in the carburetor. And then you have just pure air on the top of the carburetor. So that super rich mix goes into the crankcase, and that air comes in and goes down through the transfer ports. So when it all gets blown back up through the transfer ports, the first charge is pretty pure air. So that allows them to kind of set a little bit more aggressive transfer port timing and really kind of blow a lot of that charge out of the exhaust, flush a lot of that combustion, all those combustion gases, and then you've got just a cleaner air-fuel mix to ignite. So that's kind of how, in theory, the strato works. Unfortunately, everything is more complicated when you're trying to port it. Nobody really has good theory, at least they're not willing to publish it, around how to make big power out of these saws. So I did everything a little bit conservative. I widened the exhaust port by about 10%. I raised the transfers about 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees, like a half a millimeter. And same with the exhaust. I optimized the squish, so a lot of people will delete the base gasket, which basically kind of reduces the volume when that piston's pushed all the way up, gives you a little bit better compression, And it also pulls down all those ports just a hair. I couldn't delete the gasket though. I actually had to use a thin aluminum, just to cut just a slice of a beer can. That was my gasket, and that's how the numbers all worked out good for me. Beyond that, I really didn't do much. I polished up the exhaust. I opened up the outlet of the muffler. It's probably easily about twice of what it once was. It's probably 3/4 of the, area of that exhaust port. I wish I could have done more, but that's kind of where I ended up with this saw. So we'll take it out. We'll see how it runs. I'll be honest, I've already run 3 or 4 tanks for this, so it's pretty well broken. And I think it's a really, really strong saw. But hang tight, because I've got one more trick up my sleeve where I think I can make this a complete wood-eating animal. So let's take this thing out into the woods. So this is a pretty strong saw. I really have no complaints about it, but I've got plenty of pretty strong saws, and I needed a saw that freaking kicked butt and just puts like a smile on your face, whether it be practical or not. So I put an expansion chamber on it. And if you know anything about 2-strokes, it's not just like a header. It's not like when you take a car and you put headers on it and maybe you get some scavenging, maybe you get a 5% more horsepower over a tight RPM window. A 2-stroke, because it normally just blows so much unburnt fuel out of the exhaust, probably around the 60s, maybe 70s, it started to become popular to put a expansion chamber on them. So that what happens is this pressure wave that's coming out of the exhaust, this cone, the second cone here, will reflect that pressure wave and fire that unburnt fuel back into the cylinder, and it acts like a supercharger. And it's not unheard of to say that with an expansion chamber, you might make something like 80% more power versus without. Now, that being said, the geometry is really, really critical on these. So if it turns out that this isn't well designed, I might make less power. I might be reflecting that pressure wave at the wrong time, and it might actually start fighting itself. So let's take this thing in the woods and let's hope for the best. So with this expansion chamber, this is a CPI pipe. I bought this by myself with my own money, so I'm not being paid to say anything good, and I would happily say something bad if this pipe wasn't any good. This thing screams on this saw. And, you know, maybe it's my port timing and all these things combined just working out, but I cannot slow this saw down. It sounds like a dirt bike. It revs like really instantaneously. It went from being a saw that I was pretty happy with, it was pretty strong saw, to being like kind of a party trick. It is wild. I ended up swapping out the 7-pin sprocket for an 8-pin, thinking obviously this thing has enough power to pull it now. Well, even with the 8-pin, it pulled it. Nothing could slow this saw down. I could bear into it and it just ripped. I have a 10-pin sprocket. We'll see. I mean, if I can fit it without adding a couple links to the chain, maybe I'll throw it on and see what happens. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. But as of right now, I could not be happier with this saw. This is the most powerful saw I've ever put my hands on. It is, I wouldn't be surprised if this is making like 10 or 11 horsepower. So what are the obvious drawbacks to having a big expansion chamber like this? Well, it's probably not quite as nimble. You know, I can't cut on the side like I might normally real close to the ground, or I'll be pushing that pipe into the ground. I mean, yeah, you probably could overheat the saw if you run it with that much power for too long of a time, so you want to pay attention a little bit there. But there's some things I was nervous about that turned out not to be an issue. So I was nervous that this pipe will get in the way of my dogs when I'm kind of bearing into a log, but shockingly, the pipe was pretty much out of the way. It didn't cause any trouble there. I was also nervous that I wouldn't be able to change out like a chain and get this cover off easily, but that didn't end up being any issue. On the pictures online, it doesn't show it having like this little secondary mount here. So again, I was a little bit nervous that I would like bang this thing off the ground. So that didn't end up being an issue. The one issue that I didn't really see coming, or just maybe just didn't think of, is it's a little bit hard to fill up with gas and oil because you can't really set the saw on its side. So what I do is I kind of rest the bar on a log and then lean my body against the saw, and then I can hold it and fill it up. It's not impossible, but it's obviously quite a bit worse to fill up than your normal saw, but you kind of know there's going to be some trade-offs when you do something like this. Way cool, way awesome, pretty impractical, costs about as much as the saw is worth, but I have no regrets. If you like this video, mention in the comments, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and thanks for watching.